Donald Trump, always having good political instincts, is distancing himself from it now. So this is from the Washington Post. I know nothing about Project 2525. 2025. I have no, in the year 2525. Okay, so he denied it. I've never looked at Truth Social. It's pretty funny. They call them retruths.
Yeah.
That is so Trump. I have no idea who's behind it. I disagree with some of the things they're saying, and some of the things they're saying are absolutely ridiculous and abysmal. Anything they do, I wish them luck, but I have nothing to do with them. Okay, my read on this is he can see that they're going to try to hang this around his neck. I don't think he thinks it's ridiculous and abysmal. I don't think he really knows what it is. Frankly, I don't think he really bothered to look into it all that much. And if he did, there's not much in there that the Donald Trump I know would not like.
There's a clear pattern here that really distinguishes this campaign from 2016 and 2020. He was just so off his game. It was hard to really tell where he was going. He never really got his footing. But 2016, he ran a base campaign. He's running much more toward the center in this campaign. You could tell. On the Roe v. Wade stuff, even on foreign policy, he's starting to signal now, well, I won't end the Ukraine war. I'm just going to loan them money instead of give them money. He's trying to make the deep state happy. He's trying to appear non-threatening to them. And not just the deep state, but the centrists, the moderates. He's running and more donors. As a moderate than
he's getting more of that billionaire money, more of that Silicon Valley money than he did ever before. And a lot of those people have his ear. He's definitely... He's trying to get out of this early. He's trying to shut this down before it really gets momentum. Outside
in 2016, he would have said, "Well, 2025, it's a great thing. It looks great. We need to secure our border. It's beautiful.
This is beautiful. This is written by patriots." So Project 2025 came out. As we've been saying for more than 2 years now, Project 2025 does not speak for any candidate or campaign. We are a coalition of more than 110 conservative groups advocating policy and personnel recommendations for the next conservative president. But it is ultimately up to that president, who we believe will be President Trump, to decide which recommendations to implement. They're sleeping on Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than obsessing over Project 2025, the Biden campaign should be addressing the 25th Amendment. Ooh, burn. The plan, this is going back to the Washington Post, the plan from the Heritage Foundation, known as Project 2025, pitches a sweeping overhaul of the federal government should Trump win a second term, including far more power for the executive branch. Many people involved in the effort are former Trump administration officials, and Trump publicly allied himself with the think tank as president. The Heritage Foundation's president, Kevin Roberts, generated controversy 3 days ago for claiming in a media appearance that the country was in the middle of a second American Revolution that will be bloodless if the left allows it to be. That really pleased Tim Pool. Trump's campaign last year sought to downplay Project 2025 as policy recommendations from external allies. But Biden's campaign and other Democrats have made an aggressive effort to make Trump answer for the plan. Last month, House Democrats launched a task force to counter Project 2025. And on Friday, hours after Trump's post about it, multiple speakers at a Biden event in Wisconsin rallied supporters against the plan. Quote, "When you go home, Google Project 2025 and tell everyone you know to do the same," Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers said. Now, even before this, if you saw my Pod Save America video, I didn't include this, but I did get people talking about this even before the full court press. In the lib corners of the media that if you're in our audience, you probably don't go to on a regular basis, they were hitting this drumbeat for a while, and now they're really opening it up. A centerpiece of the plan is a massive shakeup of the federal workforce to make it more loyal to the president, a proposal that aligns with Trump's longtime complaints about a deep state bureaucracy that he accused of undermining his first term agenda. Project 2025 touches on other politically sensitive issues, including calling for the Food and Drug Administration to revisit and withdraw its initial approval of the abortion pill mifepristone. Is that how you say that? Mifepristone?
Mifepristone.
Yeah. Trump recently said
Never
he does
took it
not.
Myself. Not familiar.
Yeah,
with it.
that's how you can tell we are not users.
Yeah.
Trump recently said he does not want to block access to mifepristone. That's the worst word.
Our women need their beautiful mifepristone.
They need it. I have a new perfume scent from Vanka, mifepristone.
Mifepristone.
It's named after a Greek goddess, they tell me.
Yeah.
People involved, the goddess of abortion. People involved in Project 2025 include Ben Carson, Trump's former housing secretary, Peter Navarro, White House trade advisor under Trump, and Russ Vought, director of the Office of Management and Budget under Trump. Earlier this year, Trump and the Republican National Committee named Vought as policy director for the RNC committee crafting the party platform ahead of its national convention this month in Milwaukee. Trump's former White House chief of staff, Mark Meadows, is a senior partner in one of the groups advising Project 2025, the Conservative Partnership Institute, and John McEntee, director of the White
House. Jail. Didn't they say Mark Meadows was going to go to prison or something? Or maybe, I don't know. I'm not up on this as I should. I thought he was going to prison.
I mean, honestly, and I think this is true of you too. All those Trump administration prosecutions were so political. I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. It was just okay,
whatever.
Okay, like you guys give a shit about guardrails and norms. And John McEntee, director of the White House Presidential Personnel Office under Trump, serves as a senior advisor to Project 2025. As president, Trump spoke to the Heritage Foundation in 2017, lavishing praise on the organization and asking for its help in getting his proposed tax cuts through Congress. Asked Friday about the ties between Trump and Project 2025, Trump campaign spokesperson Stephen Chung said in an email that the campaign has, quote, been saying outside groups like Project 2025 do not reflect campaign strategy or policy for months. He pointed to a statement released last year by top Trump advisors that sought to tamp down speculation about second-term plans. Quote, let us be very specific here. Unless a message is coming directly from President Trump or an authorized member of his campaign team, no aspect of future presidential staffing or policy announcements should be deemed official, the statement said. Okay, so we're going to do a second part of this because the big question is, what is Project 2025? And I must say, okay, a lot of you probably already know this, but here's a tip. When something is very long and difficult, a lot of the articles that you're going to see about it are by people who never read it, who picked up some talking points from someone else who never read it, and so on and so on. And that's why you'll see the same things keep getting mentioned, because journalism is like a big class where everyone is copying off one kid. And they're all just having the same answers. The best reporting I found on this was, believe it or not, News Nation had a better article than most of what I found. And a YouTube video was actually, and this is another thing, when you have something that is so politically charged, it's hard to get reporting on it that's not just so slanted that it's almost useless. So we are going to talk about what it is. In terms of this dimension of it, trying to hang it on Trump, we talked about this earlier. It reminds me a lot of the way Republicans tried to do a Karl Rove. Part of Karl Rove's strategy was take your strength and turn it into a weakness. So in classic Rovian fashion, for a while, if you remember, they were attacking Barack Obama for using a teleprompter, because most people are not politics junkies and they don't realize how absurd that is. And you might as well attack him for wearing a tie. Everybody uses a teleprompter, but they were trying to undercut his reputation for eloquence by pointing that out. Pointing out that there are conservative think tanks where staff members of the Republican Party rotate in and out of these think tanks and generate policy papers and then go back and work for the Trump campaign. Yeah, that's called Washington. The Democratic equivalent to the Heritage Foundation is the Center for American Progress, whose former director, Neera Tanden, is now Biden's advisor for domestic policy after having failed to get through the Senate on the role he originally was going to make her Office of Budget and Management, I believe. He was trying to make her that up. She got turned down because she's such a miserable partisan hack. So they gave her a consolation prize and a job in the administration. This is just how it works. To say that because this think tank shares staffing and intellectual firepower with the Trump campaign, that means the Trump campaign is behind it. Yeah, that's absurd. Now, that having been said, if you look at the thinking and the kinds of white papers that are going to be put out by the Center for American Progress, and you take that as a strong indication of the way that the Democratic Party establishment is thinking, that's not misplaced. Sure. So does this give you an idea of some of what a Trump administration might do or want to do? Yes. Yeah. But that doesn't mean this is their plan. They might take some ideas from it. I'd be surprised if they didn't. But that doesn't mean this is their blueprint. And well, Keaton, you want to?
Well, yeah. Look, I mean, first of all, I would second everything you said. I would also point out that the original document, the Project 2025 document, is a book that is 922 pages long, which probably explains why a few
all
people
these
in the
articles
media have read it.
It's very clear they didn't read it. Yes.
And apparently, according to, I believe it was the Washington Post that cited this, they have a $22 million budget, meaning the Heritage Foundation, for this project. Not only to write the book itself, but to start recruiting personnel who they were going to recommend to the incoming Republican president. So they have raised a bunch of money, and they've paid themselves a bunch of money for doing this. This is part of why these think tanks exist. It's gig flow, okay? So that is a large part of what this is. It's a big gig for a lot of people who make a lot of money floating their good ideas to people in power. I mean, this happens all the time. Like, this is news because when you're about to lose an election, you need some kind of MacGuffin that you use as a Hail Mary. In 2018, it was the caravan, the migrant caravan, right? All the GOP, the caravan's coming. You can't give the Democrats the House. They're not going to stop the caravan. After November, did you hear any mention of the caravan? No, they never mentioned it again after the election was over, right? So that's what this seems like. Now, that's not to say that, as you said, the ideas put forward in this document do not reflect the wishes of a conservative think tank, just like the papers that come out of CAP or Our Revolution, I'm sure. You know, we want Medicare for all. We're gonna try and put people in power who are gonna do it. I mean, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything. And the most important thing here, the takeaway for this segment at least, Trump is signaling pivots to the. Trump wants to win. He really wants to win. Partly because if he wins, he knows he's going to stay out of jail, so that's big. And so he's pivoting to the center. He's running a much more strategic campaign that is aimed at winning back a lot of those affluent conservative moderates who abandoned him last time. That's clearly who he's targeting. And so he's not going to come out and embrace this Project 2025, which he doesn't really know all of what's in it because he's not reading 922 pages of this thing. And I doubt many people on his campaign staff are either. So he's basically hedging. He's saying, yeah, some things I like, some things I don't like. That's easy to say when you haven't read the fucking thing. Can't go wrong with that, right? And he's saying, look, you can't tie me to this. which is the smart move. That's obviously the smart move, and it's part of a pattern, whether it's foreign policy, whether it's abortion, of running more towards the center this time than he did in 2016. There's no doubt about that.
Well, and also remember, sometimes to our lament as a nation, the founders of the country set up the government to be inefficient, partly so that no branch of government could ever take over in the way that Project 2025 contemplates. This assumes you could just go do this, that you could just go do it. You're not going to get pushback from Congress. You're not going to have to go through the courts. You're not going to have to deal with lawsuits. I mean, it's predicated on the theory that you would be able to get things done in the first 180 days, that everything that follows is predicated off of, that you would never be able to accomplish in the first 180 days. Also, the Trump people, people on a campaign, as much as they may share staff and personnel with the Heritage Foundation, they have their own plans. What, you think they want people coming in and telling them how they're going to run the administration? So their plans are called Agenda 47. And that's what the Trump campaign has been directing people to. I don't know very much about it. I can't comment on it. From some of these headlines, you get the drift. Ending veteran homelessness, that sounds nice. No welfare for illegal aliens. The American Academy, I've really got to look into that. That sounds interesting. If you look
did
at
a segment on that a while back.
Oh, wow. I remember that. Yeah. That's right. Announces a plan to revolutionize higher education by shifting excessively large endowments from private universities toward a new institution called the American Academy. That's right. I remember that now.
Please clap.